Hey guys, so today we're going to be reviewing this Vevor snow machine. So I'm kind of excited because I never had one of these before. I've dealt with fog machines for Halloween, but the snow machine I want to try out this year. And obviously I don't know if I'm going to try to set it for a timer or how I want to go about doing it, but I'll figure that out and take video as that goes along. I looked at a bunch of them on YouTube reviews, and this one here looked comparable to another one that was reviewed that the guy reviews. I forget his name, I apologize, but he does a bunch of like blow up things in his yard and stuff, and he actually reviewed something that looked just like this one. It was more of a Chinese type name, Lexington or whatever, I don't know, something weird that he reviewed looked just like this one. This one here was about $30, I want to say, cheaper than the one he purchased, and he had a link into the one he had. So we're going to give this one a shot. Like I said, it was about $30 cheaper or whatever for this one. This is a Vevor. I looked at other Vevor reviews and they looked pretty good, so it wasn't this particular model though. So we're going to take a peek at this one, open it up, and then we'll try it out after we're done with that and see how it does. So this is a 1500 watt one too. It came in the other day and unfortunately I had to work and it was too late to, once I get out of work, it's always too late to actually do one of these reviews. So what I wanted or liked about this is it comes with a stand. A lot of them, they don't come with a stand and you got to try to figure out a way to prop it up somewhere. This one here has its own stand, and these stands are kind of beefy. So the thing with these stands, and I'm assuming because they're all made in China, I don't know the durability of how these will hold up, and it sounds like a garbage truck is coming, so I might have to pause this until a garbage truck goes by. But the stands they're super thick, and this one here, it just opens up like an umbrella. You have a little twist lock down here to twist it into the lock position, and then this is adjustable too. I don't think it's too much. No, it's not too much. But then it gives you the stop up here, and it gives you this little key lock here, or pin, to actually stick through the hole. So this looks like maybe it's an extra little tightener. I don't know, in case one of these tighteners break. I found this extra one in the bag. It could have something to do with the actual snow machine once you mount it, but that's an additional one so far. In the packaging, I'll bring the camera over here real quick so you can see kind of what the packaging looks like. So you can see that it comes with its own container, and this is the main machine. This one does come with a remote and stuff, and it's got a couple of the connectors there. So it's packaged pretty good. The box looked decent when I got it. I didn't see any big smashes or anything, dents in the box, so I'm not expecting it to have any damage on it, but we won't know until we pull it out. All right, so they had enough shrink wrap around this one that it actually doesn't show any signs of any damage or anything on it. Once again, this is metal. So with Chinese metal, if you've ever dealt with it before, you know that weather conditions and stuff can really rust that stuff up pretty easy. So it does appear that this is almost the exact same one labeled differently, because on his video it shows this bottle here and it shows this cap, and he says you got to remove this little plastic ring that's on this cap. So it's honestly the same unit, just once again, labeled with a different company name on it. Right, they're just styrofoam protecting it. And here's the unit. It's large, but it doesn't weigh anything. Maybe, I don't know, a couple of pounds, if that. Maybe a little over a pound. I'm not sure on the weight. I'll put the specs actually in the review at the end, but this little sock here, this is what basically disperses, if you want to call it the foam or whatever, and then basically it collects in there and then it shoots off and separates from that foam. What I did like about this model is that you can control the power on it. It's got an on and off switch here, but it actually controls the power of the fan that's blowing. So you can actually really get this thing to shoot the snow pretty far anyways, depending on how heavy you make the snow too. It looks like it's got a built-in fuse in here, and then it's like an on and off switch here. So basically on and off, the power switch, you got a max and min. So max and min, that actually might be the blower motor. So you can probably either have it on min or max, I don't know yet until we stop messing with it, but, and it gives you a pretty long power cord. I'm assuming this is at least 6 feet of a power cord here that you have. So if you did want to use this without the stand and just mount it somewhere, you could kind of do that too, because it's got the little feet on it where you can actually put it wherever you want. But the whole reason for this was the base. Once again too, one of the things I like is that this isn't connected to the unit, which would have made the unit a lot heavier too. So it gives you a little instruction manual, gives you your little key fob where it has a little slider on here. You have little buttons to control the unit, and we'll go over that as we demonstrate it later on. The only thing that this one doesn't have that his had, and maybe that's why it's cheaper, I'm noticing, so we won't be able to demo this today. I'll have to do the review when I get the actual other stuff, but this did not come with the snow fluid. So his actually came with the snow fluid, the concentrated snow fluid, which that's probably why it was an extra $30 more, because it came with the actual fluid to make it work. I didn't notice that when I ordered this one, so unfortunately we won't be able to make it work, because I ordered the snow fluid, the extra snow fluid, thinking it was extra, which now I'm realizing it's actual necessity for this particular setup, because it doesn't come with it. So if you want one that comes with the snow fluid, go with the other one that's on his video, and I'll actually put a link in my review to the one he bought, which is, like I said, I can't remember the name, Langsung or something, Langsung, I think, I don't know. But his actually came with 2 concentrated little containers of the snow fluid, where the Vevor one doesn't. But like I said, I don't know if the math adds up where it's worth $30 more to get 2 of those with your unit, or because I intend on eventually trying to make the snow fluid. So I also ordered a certain chemical, or whatever you want to call it, soap chemical, that you mix with the water, and you actually make this for a ton cheaper. There's another review that I watched just on making snow fluid. It had nothing to do with snow machines. Well, it did, but the whole review is on making your own snow fluid. So I intend on fully making my own snow fluid, because the price that you keep paying for the snow fluid can add up quickly. So I figure, you know, save myself some money and make my own. Just like I started making my own fog machine on the side there. I used to always buy my fog juice, but from now on, I'm actually making my own fog juice, and it comes out a lot cheaper. Unless you buy it at the end of the year on like 75% off, that's the only way that you'll even compete with what I can actually make it for, and I can make it super smoky. So, all right. So this is probably where that other clip might come in. I don't know. That other. So this one here is going to go on top here. And once it goes on top, I guess you just, it's not going to line up with any of the holes, so you're just going to actually use this one. And all these knobs, there's 3 of these knobs, they're all the same. So tighten that down. Actually, I'm going to tighten all these up because this thing is like wiggling around and I want it wiggling. This little pin here is designed to go right across, but I'm going to tighten this down first. Get it. Actually, I'm going to lower it till it lands on the pin. So I could raise it up higher, but then I want to utilize that pin just in case these bolts don't hold up and it slides down. So yeah, I could get it to go a little higher, but to me it's not worth it. This here, I'm wondering if you can adjust this so it doesn't have to. If I tighten this down, if you don't want it fully flat, I want to see if you can actually do it. I don't know if it'll work out that way or not. Maybe. All right, so if you don't want it fully flat, it looks like you can almost set this however you want it so that these feet are not totally flat and you're up on an angle, because you can push this thing entirely all the way down and make it fully flat, but I think it actually should be jacked up some when you're doing this. All right. This here. And if you watch the other video that I'm talking about of the other model where the guy is doing this, he didn't know where to put these washers. These washers typically go between the snow machine and the bracket. It doesn't show him install it on because he didn't really have great instructions, where I'm assuming these are probably not great either. But it's one or the other. It's either between the knob and the bracket or the snow machine and the bracket. And I'm going to try to do it in between the snow machine and the bracket. I'm just trying to remember how my fog machines were. It's something similar to this anyways. If I can line it up straight. Damn, these get tight like super fast. I thought I was cross threading, but I'm not cross threading and they get tight super fast, so I'm not sure. It makes it awkward when you're trying to put this on because it's hard to see if you're fully level when you're screwing this in, and normally you move it around until the thread goes in easy, but this thread just does not go in easy, so that just feels like it's gonna snap. I don't know if I like that. Alright, let's try the other side. It has nothing to do with this washer either, it's just the way these threads are actually in the snow machine. And these would be way easier to put on the knob side versus the snow machine side with this washer. But I'm really not sure that that's right. I'm thinking it should be this way, but I could be wrong. Because this is going to be a pain now to try to get this washer on this nut. Or on this bolt, I should say. I'm going to give it my best attempt. If I can't do it, I'll put this. Ooh, I think I got it. Now. Yeah, these things thread in like really tight. I don't know if it's the paint that they used on the snow machine and the paint went into the thread. It's almost worth running. Not too many people, I'm sure, have a die set where you could actually run a die through there and clean up the threads. I think I used to have one, but it just feels like it's gonna snap the bolt inside the unit when you tighten this thing up. So I'm going back and forth as I'm threading this in, like in and out, just trying to bite my way in to tighten it up. I'm coming out of the picture here. I think I can grog it in now. It feels like it's going in more. And I noticed pushing around on this thing that the legs actually already went back down. So it's not super stable. In other words, the way this is designed, I don't see any better way to do this. Yeah, I tightened this up so much, I actually bent the metal on it already, just by tightening it. So obviously, It's Chinese metal, it's thin, what do you expect? I just don't understand the design of the rubber feet, because it's designed like a rubber foot on the bottom of like a crutch or something, and the pad's not actually on the bottom, it's around the whole thing, so it would make it look like they should be on an angle, some sort of angle versus just flat. But when you try to put it on an angle and tighten it up, I mean, I was grogging it in, but I ended up bending the tube. It was pushing on the tube so hard that it was bending it. So anyhow, I guess it doesn't have to be perfect, because once again, it's just going to throw snow in the air. So, all right, so we're off to an start. So at least you can see kind of how it looks here. And once again, it doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate. You're not trying to hit a certain target. You're just trying to shoot the snow up in the air. So I mean, even if it wiggles or something a little bit, it's not going to throw everything off. It actually might even look better, because now you're kind of moving the snow around more, especially if there's no breeze or anything outside, just so it's not throwing the snow all in the same area. So other than that, I guess I'm pretty happy so far, because it is pretty much just like the one he got minus the snow, which I so really wish, now that I'm thinking about it, I would have got the other one, because we could have demoed this right now. You ain't going to be able to tell, because when I take back off with this video, I'll already have the stuff that I ordered in, and we'll take off with that. But this container here, the concentrated stuff you mix with water, so depending on how fluffy or whatever you want your snow, there's some kind of mix ratio with that stuff. And then the stuff that I ordered to make the snow, it kind of works the same way, but I think it might be slightly different. The concentrated stuff might be a little bit more potent than the stuff I ordered. So the stuff I ordered, in addition to the concentrated stuff, is definitely different in the mixture ratio. The fog machines, I know I use distilled water because it heats up. I'm assuming you don't, somebody said they might recommend distilled water with this stuff, but since it doesn't get hot, I don't know if distilled water is still like super preferred over the normal stuff. I know a lot of people do use the tap water when making the snow, so I think I'll have to look more into that, because I don't want to give anybody false information on distilled versus tap water, if it makes a better snow or not, or if it messes these machines up at all. But I don't think this machine should work off heat, any type of heat besides the motor. I'm assuming these are brushed motors and not brushless motors, so they should produce some sort of heat, obviously, when they're working. But I don't think there's any type of heating unit in there that is trying to heat up the snow. I don't think that would make any sense. This tube here, there's a nut on the back of this thing. It's more like a crimping style setup, where you stick the hose in. And once again, I watched that in his video, the other guy's video with the Model that looks like this, but not the same name. So he uses the opened end of this hose, just the cut end portion. He sticks it in there and then screws that in. And then he sticks this bottom portion into the canister. This is where he undoes the canister. He runs the tube through it and then plugs the tube into that. So it seems like it would make sense, because this has some kind of, might be like a little filtering type setup on here. So maybe that keeps out slight debris or something, I don't know. But that looks like the end that's going to go into the portion of the can, and then run the can up to this. And wherever you set this up, like I said, I don't know if I plan on leaving this thing outside, out in the open, with rain and everything else. It probably is not going to last long if you do that. I don't know when I'll start using this. I might just pull it out occasionally when I'm running my shows at night, because I run projection mapping shows. So occasionally I might just pull this out. Obviously Christmas Day, yes, I want to use it as well, but I'll have to figure out how I want to use this, because like fog machines, I just set up on a timer, and then the timer kicks them on, kicks them off whenever that's possible to do it. Whereas this, there was some kind of shutdown feature where he says you kind of turn the snow all the way off and then shut it down. I don't know if you have to do it that way or not, because if you have to do it that way, then you can't work this thing off a timer. This thing is not going to run as long as my fog machine, I don't think, because the fog machine, you're just doing fog spurts. You're not trying to consistently make a snow come down. Consistently making a snow run come down, I'll have to actually time it one day where I run the thing and just see how long it can make the snow at a certain setting. Once you stop playing with that dial knob to go from light snow to hard snow, you're going to screw up any type of calculation you're trying to do. Any type of mixture you put in there when you're mixing the stuff, if you're just slightly off, I'm assuming that even could screw up, you know, the amount of time your snow machine's got to run. I wouldn't expect this thing to run any more than 30 minutes. I could be wrong there with making snow. Now, once again, we'll figure that out when I go. And it's not like I'm trying to make huge snowflakes. I think just light little floaty ones that kind of go around will be cool, just for the, you know, ambiance of what's going on with the rest of the show going on in the house. So, all right, until I get the snow juice, we've come to a conclusion. So next time we take off, I'll have the snow juice here, and we should be ready to go set up and test this thing out. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so unfortunately I thought my snow fluid was coming in today, but something else got delivered that I'm going to do a second tutorial on, something else for Christmas that I want to try. But in front of me we have another way. It's not the way that I'm going to create bubble fluid. This is technically a homemade way to make this snow fluid, if you want to call it snow juice. So you can use any type of dishwashing or dish liquid detergent, something that cleans dishes. Right here I have a Great Value Ultra Dish Liquid that I'm going to use. They say use 70% isopropyl rubbing alcohol or alcohol. And I've seen it both ways with distilled water, non-distilled water. This is a good percentage of distilled water in here that I was using on my fog machine. But for the remainder of the gallon, I'm going to use regular water from the faucet. I'm not even going to bother with distilled water. So we're going to make a concoction and see if we can get this thing going today, only because I want to try it, and I'm not going to have the other stuff today. So, all right, so basically the first thing they say is use about 7 ounces to a gallon. So this is a gallon here. They say use 7 ounces of dishwashing soap. So we're going to put 7 ounces, or approximately 7 ounces. Let me see if I got a better measuring. All right, that's approximately 7 ounces right there of dishwashing soap. All right. Next, they say use a little bit more than 5 ounces of isopropyl alcohol, which seems a lot to me. I'm going to go with about 4 ounces, I think, because that seems kind of hefty. No, that's not even 4 ounces. I always thought it was just like almost like a little capful. I don't know. I'm going off a YouTube video I just watched of 2 girls, and they look like they were probably half to the wind. They probably like a lot of alcohol. I don't know. This seems excessive, but we'll give it a shot. So this is right around 4 ounces of the alcohol. Okay, I want to make sure my mic was on because I don't remember turning it on. I must have left it on, luckily. All right, let me clean my hands off here. So the remainder of this gallon, what I'm going to do is run some water, grab my hose, or actually I'm just going to run in. I'll put this on pause, fill the rest of this up in the sink with regular tap water, so just bear with me. All right, so as expected, while filling that up, it suds all over the place. So I don't know how much you technically lose of the soap while it suds in all over the place. Maybe I was trying to fill it up too fast or something, but the suds were just pouring out. And unfortunately, it was like way down here, so I knew I needed to get a lot more liquid into it. So I just kept going and letting the suds come out. So I might have actually diluted it more than what it needed to be because I didn't go slow with it. I don't know. But either way, this is just a quick homemade remedy to make this fluid. So now I will transfer it over into this bottle, which a funnel would be nice, I'm sure, but since I don't have a clean funnel besides an oil funnel that I change my oil with, which I don't want to use that, I will just fill it up with this. And technically, honestly, I probably could have just made the mixture in this to begin with. Another step that I probably screwed up. I should have just mixed it inside this container. That way I didn't have to do all this. But I didn't read how much is in this container, but it obviously looks bigger than a gallon. So even though, yeah, this container is bigger than a gallon. So when you're doing your ratios out, if you're going off a gallon, I would read the instructions and find out how big this thing is first, because it holds more than a gallon in there. Some of this stuff out of the way. My next thing will be to hook the line up that needs to be connected to the back of the snow machine. So here's the line. It comes with like a tie, one of those tie straps on here that you got to cut. So we will cut this off without cutting the line. Make sure you don't cut the line. But cut that strap off, and then your line, you'll just have to untangle it. I don't know if this line kinks very easy or not, but all right, so our goal now is to run this line through the cap, which, okay, so the cap has the right cutout. And then make sure you have enough of this line in your bottle to get to the very end. So you want to make sure that is touching the bottom. Screw this back on. Shake this jug around a little bit. I don't know if I really had to do that since I poured it in. And now I'm going to spin this unit around. Whoa. All right, so right back here, you actually have a little nut. And this line here is going to go through this nut and then be pushed onto this nipple. And then there's threads that once you tighten down this, and I'm only going to hand tighten it, should keep that in place. All right, I'll run an extension cord. We'll aim this thing pretty much out the door because then again, I'm in my garage, so it really doesn't matter. I'll just do this. Oh, and watch out, because once that soap mixture hits the floor, it turns it to like ice, which I guess would make sense because this is a snow machine. Little twisty tie you have to take off. And yeah, this cord here is probably over 6 feet, definitely. Maybe 8 feet. So I have an extension cord here. Should be plugged in. Now this thing here is supposedly pretty loud, so I'm gonna keep stepping in this spilt mixture. All right, so there's also a controller that comes with this, and the batteries are included. It's got a little antenna on there that pulls out. So I would imagine the power needs to be on for this controller to work. I'm not sure what else needs to be on. Oh, okay. So it does sound like a vacuum cleaner. Right now, I think it's trying to prime itself with the fluid. I'm turning the switch in the back. And there it is. Wow. Okay. This is on min. I'm going to hit max. So it definitely, this is blowing the snow. I'll spin the camera around, and I lowered the snowflake. Because I don't want a blizzard going on, but. So on the dial, it looks like it's on about the 5th mark right now, which is close to minimum. It's not even close to max. But it definitely leaves the snow on the ground. And yeah, I guess dishwashing detergent actually works. Because this is actually throwing it. I'm still not sure what this controller actually does though. Yeah, I really don't know what this controller does. I'm tapping the button. I'll have to read the instructions on how to work this, but it is really throwing stuff. I don't know if you can see all that. Hopefully you can, but wow. Now that's on high, but it's on a low setting to produce snow. So, and these snowflakes are actually going right across the street. I'll angle it up more. But it's actually throwing it pretty good. So once again, Dawn dishwashing detergent, isopropyl alcohol, and it's like a mixture of distilled water and tap water, but I've seen it being done with tap water. You can see on the thing there how it's actually producing the snow coming off it. But yeah, definitely making a snow flurry out there. Closer rod edge. So I'll try to show you the settings there. So this dial here is probably about the 5th little black mark about. I got the max setting here and the on is on. So if I go to min, it still throws a lot of snow, but obviously the blower motor isn't pushing it as far as on max. We jump up to max, it throws it further. So my thing with this is, with my display that I run, I want to actually see if I can control this with a timer, where the timer will kick it on for a few minutes, let it snow maybe for like 5 minutes, shut it down, turn it back on again without me having to do anything. So I really want to try to automate this thing to do this at night when the display is going, but in the daytime, I just wanted to see how this actually works. So as of this being used with the dishwashing detergent, I'm not sure how the other snow is gonna, because the stuff that I ordered is actually, it's a whole different process. It's not using dishwashing detergent. It's using a different chemical substance to make the snow. So, I mean, I got to admit, I'm kind of liking the way this Dawn is working, because this is actually throwing the stuff perfectly. And that's like a big bottle of, you know, great value dishwashing detergent. I know you can probably get it at the dollar store too, but I think that big bottle was maybe $5 something for a big bottle of dishwashing detergent. I believe it was under $6. So for $6, you can use that ratio, and you can get pretty much a good amount of gallons. I'm not doing the math right now, but you can get a decent amount of snow that you can make with it. Isopropyl alcohol is typically pretty cheap. I haven't bought it in a while, but that's pretty cheap as well too. I'm not sure, if I went heavier with the alcohol, if it would have made much of a difference, but this is working like a champ right now. And it definitely makes it look like it's having a blizzard out there. And anybody that demonstrates these, typically it's windy out. So today's windy out, and unfortunately, you know, the wind is taking it, but it's actually making it like a nice little ambiance with the wind taking it. So the problem is the wind is coming at us right now. So if the wind was pushing away from us, this stuff would be flying, like probably hitting my neighbor's house. Every once in a while when the wind dies down, it'll carry across the street. All right, so that pretty much is going to wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this machine with the dishwashing soap. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to use the regular fluid that I did order, but unfortunately that's not going to be here for a while. When I do eventually switch over to that fluid, if it makes any much of a difference, then I'll do another tutorial using the other stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, this dish soap works awesome. I mean, this is definitely what I was looking for this effect. So I'm very happy with it so far. So, alrighty then. Everybody be safe. Have a great holiday. Any questions, comments, leave them in there. Appreciate it. All right, real quickly before I shut this thing down. So let me get a good shot of this. All right, so on the back here, this little control knob pays to read. This little control knob here has to be in the off position. So you'll hear it click off. When you turn it to the right, clockwise, it'll click on, and then that will actually disable the remote control function. So right now, with the remote, I'll hold the remote up. To turn it on, I'll hit this little square here, solid white colored square. So that turns it on. Now I can use the up arrows. I'm clicking the up arrows to control the amount of snow coming out. So basically, the more I click up, the heavier the snow becomes. And vice versa, if I click the down arrow, the lighter the snow becomes until you actually shut the snow off. Click it all the way down till it stops. Now the snow's off. Click it up a couple of times. There's like three clicks up, turns the snow back on again. So that's how you use the remote. And then the lock key, which doesn't make sense, but it shows a picture of a lock, that actually shuts it off. And then the square turns it back on. When you turn it back on, it goes back to, I guess, the lowest setting automatically. So then you have to click, once again, you have to click on the up arrow to turn the snow back on. So if I shut it down and then turn it back on, it's flicking off the residue, but the snow actually went back to the lowest position. So this is something here that I don't think I have to use the knob. If I'm going to use a timer on this thing, I'll have to use the knob because I don't want that to revert back down to nothing using the remote. Now, if you're going to be around and you want to use the remote, like I said, leave that back knob turned off, and that way you can use the remote control to make this thing work. I just figured I'd throw that in because, once again, I read the manual, and by reading, you actually figure stuff out, and that was one thing that it did show, is that knob needs to be turned off. So, all right, hopefully that helps. Once again, peace out, happy holidays, hope everybody enjoys it. I have snow going all around my neighborhood right now. I can see it going down the street. Too much fun. Too much fun.